Here we are kicking off July, and as always, a part of that is wrapping up June. So what does that mean? It's time to talk about the Patreon pick for the month of June, and that was Only Forward by Michael Marshall Smith. And this book is so many things all at once. It's kind of like a neo-noir detective story wrapped in a mystery that is also a science fiction, futuristic science fiction city, that each little neighborhood is kind of like its own distinct thing. Some of them are dystopian, some of them are not. Each one is like almost like its own sci-fi bubble in and of itself, as if like one science fiction city wasn't enough. He needed to make each neighborhood its own type of science fiction story, all kind of wrapping up together, and then you can travel between the neighborhoods and then back again, so you're like traveling in and out of different types of sci-fi story, all in the same book, which is not large, by the way. And then the second half of the book then leans into like dream fiction and almost becomes like magical realism as you move through that section of the story, almost leaving the science fiction aspect of the book behind for large chunks of the story. Like I said, it's a lot, and it feels like none of these pieces should go together, or at the very least, they shouldn't go together smoothly. And I must say, they actually slot together a lot better than I ever would have expected. And so much of this book works so well, and so much of this book is truly wonderful. So much so that I want to recommend it to everybody, and I am going to recommend it to everybody, even though there is one really large caveat that I'm going to have to include in this recommendation, and that is that I struggled to get into it, and I kind of struggled to get through it because I didn't connect with a certain aspect of it. But the rest of it was done so well that I have to recommend it. Let's talk about it. I love the idea of this book, and for the most part, I really like the execution of this book, but there is a streak of silliness and a sense of humor that is baked into the writing from page one, and it goes through the core of this story from the beginning all the way to the end. Unfortunately for me, the jokes didn't really land and the humor didn't really work, and that is so unfortunate because it is so much a part of the core identity of what this book is. And that's what, for me, made it a struggle to get through it, because everything else was done so well. I liked the science fiction aspects of it. I liked the weird aspects of it. I liked the dream aspects of it. Everything was coming together and clicking together so well, except for that core streak of humor that it just wasn't landing for me, which made the whole experience feel a little bit like a drag. Not that it was done badly, or not that anything about it was bad. It just, that humor didn't click for me, and I really wish it would have, because it would have made the entire experience just next level for me. The world was well conceived and realized, the dream sequences were well executed, and as you would expect in a story like this, something that is going to move from the science fiction into the dream world and then back again while being wrapped up in a mystery, you're going to get a bunch of revelations and realizations that then are going to tie into the core mystery of the book, probably your core main character, and with it being a dream sequence and a lot of that playing into the book, then you're going to expect to have these revelations to play into the core of the main character, maybe even to his psyche. He's going to have a lot to do with the revelations, and he's going to realize things about the world and realize things about himself and have this big grand revelation by the end. I am so happy to say that is exactly what happens, and it is so well done and so well executed. I will say it is a little backloaded, if that's even a thing or a term, but what I mean by that is a lot of the revelations come very quickly, very rapidly at the end, like the last 20 pages maybe. I don't know, I didn't count, but like they could have come a little bit slower at the end, instead of just being like bam, hitting a wall of revelations. But that being said, they were very good, very well done, very enjoyable. I loved the payoff at the end of this. I loved the way things were paid off and the way it all came together at the end for him as a character, and all of our revelations were just so satisfying. And I'm not trying to say that this is the most revolutionary book that I've ever read in my entire life. Some of the revelations that you get at the end of the book are pretty typical and maybe even predictable by the time that you get there. But what I am saying is they were so well executed and so, like I said, satisfying when you read them, that that was probably my favorite part of the entire book, was when everything came together in the end and just fell into place, and it was just so satisfying of a read, that last little stretch. So then I have to go back to the humor of the book, because like I said, if the humor for you works in this book, I could see this book becoming like an instant favorite for somebody. That's, of course, assuming that you also enjoy weird sci-fi mixed with dream fiction and a noir story. I guess there's a lot of things that could go wrong here. But I'm just saying, if this is your kind of story and the humor clicks, boy, it's going to be like a top tier book for you. I don't know. And that's also why I say that I recommend it to everybody. Even if all you do is start it and give it a try, because you're going to know right off the bat if this humor is working for you. And if the humor clicks, it will probably, I would imagine, very easily carry somebody through this entire book, even if you're not invested in dream fiction, because it is so strong of a voice. He has such a specific tone that he grabs and he nails through the entire book. Now, I say many, many, many times, I would so much rather somebody go for it and give me a strong voice and give me a strong tone that I didn't like than to give me something bland. And that is 100% this. This guy has a voice, and he has a very strong voice, and I so deeply appreciate that in an author. And even though I'm going to keep saying it didn't quite click for me, especially the silliness, I appreciate it. I appreciate it greatly. And if it works for you, boy, I think it's going to work for you. Also, I will repeat, the execution of everything in this book was just done extremely well. I will have to give it probably a 6 out of 10. If 5 is average, 6 is above average, but it's not quite 7, 8 good territory, just because I didn't really enjoy the tone and the silliness of the book. So 6 out of 10, but I absolutely, definitely recommend this book. And as always, everybody, the link for my Patreon's in the description below. The link for my Discord's in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.